Yes, my name is Micheal Patterson and I'm the Director of Support Solutions, which is an organisation which assists non-profit organisations, really, consultancy, revenue, and how to respond to social need in terms of government policy and community need. Well, in the sense that some of our customers are providers of services, especially for women fleeing, and their children, women and children fleeing domestic violence and abuse situations. So, for example, they could be providers of refuge services, they could be providers of advice, telephone advice, or what they call floating support services, where women are supported in their own homes to deal with situations. Though, of course, it's not only women. There was some fairly recent research that suggested up to 15% of victims of domestic violence are men, which is interesting. So we do a little work around that as well. Not so much raising consciousness around the fact that men are also victims, because they are very much in the minority, but just putting it on the agenda. But the bulk of the work we do is assisting refuge providers really with finance, public money, and how can I put it? Most organisations of that nature are struggling at the moment because of public expenditure cuts. So our primary task is to assist them really in responding to that, making sure they're viable and assisting them to work differently. I mean, the other thing that I do in a personal capacity is I'm a treasurer of a women's refuge in Northamptonshire. That's, in a sense, separate from my professional role.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, in your experience with probably victims of domestic violence in support solutions, would you recommend any amicable ways to which domestic violence can be settled?
It's a difficult one. I think that it's probably, this is an opinion, it's probably true to say that there is the views split two ways on this. Significant parts of the domestic violence sector, if you like, organisations which support women, say that men should not be involved in this because the women have been victims of male violence. However, there is a significant, probably growing part of the sector that says, well, yes, but actually, particularly for the sake of children who are involved, there have to be positive male role models, so that men, in a sense, remain involved. I think when you're looking at a personal situation and there has been domestic violence or abuse perpetrated, it can be very difficult to resolve that in an amicable sense. The damage has been done. Sometimes women are also trapped in relationships which are, in a sense, almost institutionally violent, and there's a lot of strength in the argument, as far as I see, that says that women who are victims of domestic violence need to empower themselves or be empowered to understand why they were victims. And they can only really do that when they have the space to do so, and it may well be that any attempt at getting back together or resolving the issue with the perpetrator is put in second place. It's also the case that if men are going to be violent to women or violent to anybody, then they themselves need to look at that. And it's very difficult for me, personally, to envisage a situation where you can get an amicable resolution between two people who've yet to come to terms with what it is that makes the violence happen.